welcome back to the Way to Be podcast. This is where we talk about health professions, partnerships, and practice. And today we are extremely lucky because we've got Miss Kara Elmore and Miss Lauren Redican joining us. They're going to be sharing about what does it look like to be a business owner or to be running a large company. Even though we have our therapist hat, what does this look like? What are other opportunities in the field? So again, I'm back here as a co-host. I'm Rachel Glade, and I have a wonderful co-host.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Rosenzweig.
And we are here to hopefully have a fantastic conversation with some great leaders in our field. So with that being said, I'll kick it off to Elizabeth for the first question for our guests.
Thanks. Welcome, Kara and Lauren. I wonder if you would each tell us a little bit about your professional journey, how you got into your profession, what paths your career has taken, and then a little bit about what you're doing now. So, Kara, will you start us off?
Absolutely. So I am an occupational therapist by trade. I knew I wanted to go into the medical field from a young age, loved the ability thinking of helping people, started at my university at UCA and was planning to be a physician. I knew that was kind of my path and what I wanted to do. And so I joined a group and kind of went to that club, and we were talking about all of the, what that's going to require. And so I thought, oh, wow, I don't know that the flexibility of being a, doctor is going to match the lifestyle that I specifically wanted. And so that put me on the journey to find out what other options are here. And so I came upon occupational therapy, felt like it was a good fit for me and having some of that ability to be creative, helping people kind of across the lifespan. And so that was kind of where I landed, was in occupational therapy. So graduated and started treating as a therapist and had the ability to actually go ahead and lead a team as a therapy director at that time. I had been working for Pediatrics Plus for 5 years during my undergraduate and graduate degree, had the opportunity to learn the back room and learn from our owner, Amy Denton. I sat with her every day and just learned from her, was able to watch her leadership, watch how she genuinely loved people, wanted the best for all the children coming through the door. Such a visionary of, hey, how can we do this better? How can we do this different? And so really just was so inspired and had that ability to kind of lead that team in Russellville. Had the ability also to move to a site director and oversee our developmental preschool services along with therapy. And then she came and said, hey, would you open up locations out of state for us? That led me on a journey for the next 9+ years to open up 10 locations for Pediatrics Plus. Had the ability to work hand in hand with Lauren and create a recruitment department. And so it has been a fun ride. And now I'm our chief talent officer, and I oversee all of our recruiting, our marketing, and our retention at Pediatrics Plus.
Wow, fantastic. We have a ton of questions about all of that. But first, Lauren, can you share with us how you got to where you are today?
Yes, absolutely. So I knew early on when I was in high school, actually, that I wanted to work with kids. I didn't exactly know how that would take shape, but I knew that I didn't want a classroom full of kids. I knew I could do one at a time. I thought, how can I figure out a way to do that? And a good friend of our family, she actually was the speech therapist at the local public school there. And she said, come and watch me. And so I knew around 11th grade, I wanted to be a speech therapist. And so that sent me down a path of just going, okay, what schools are out there for me? I ended up selecting a school that wasn't too far away from home. Just wasn't quite ready. I came from a small town of 300, just couldn't quite fly the coop too much further. So went to UCA. I got my undergraduate degree and then went on to get my graduate degree there for speech language pathology. And I got to know Pediatrics Plus during my time there in Conway. And so I got to hold a job there as a teacher's assistant within the preschool. And then I kind of got to get a feel for the way therapy felt there within their site in Conway. And so after doing that, I kind of knew. I was like, I want to work here as a therapist once I graduated. And that was really my pipe dream. That was it. I was all guns blazing, just how can I get to be a speech therapist here at Pediatrics Plus? And I got to sit for an interview for that. I put all of my eggs in one basket. That was the only interview I had, and I got the job. And so that was the start of my career as a speech therapist, and that was in 2009. And so I got to serve as a speech therapist in the Little Rock location at that time. I think I was one of 4, and so now they've grown to far more than that. But I got to start as a speech therapist there, and then about a year and a half in, I knew Pediatrics Plus was a growing company. I loved the core values, the mission, the vision. I loved that I got to be a part of it, and that it aligned with mine as well. And so I started to ask questions. I remember asking Amy Denton as well, hey, Amy, I love to see your style of leadership. I love the core values that you have in place here at the company. And how can I be even more of a participant in that? And I think I could be a leader here. I feel like I could do this, and I really just kind of went for it. And she just was like, thank you so much for letting me know. And when we have opportunities arise, we'll reach out. And so they did. And I was able to actually step into the role of clinic director in our North Little Rock location at that time. So I got to start that day one. I was the first person in the building, first person to treat kiddos there. And it's since grown to be a rather large facility too. But I was there for about 4.5 years prior to relocating to the Northwest Arkansas area. And so I also got to serve in the recruiting department, like Kara mentioned. So at that time, one of our owners, Krista, she said, okay, well, what else can you do? If you're going to move, what else can you do? And I said, well, I'll do anything. What do you want me to do? And so I did recruiting, and we started that up, and we flew to a few different cities even. I mean, we had a great time. But I spent that time to kind of get to know my skill set and just the ways of interviewing people, getting to know people, forming relationships, and asking questions that help us to determine, is this person a good fit for our culture? And so that was really fun to do. And so then the road led me to another facility where I worked for upwards to 6 years and had a great experience just getting to know more people in the field, more speech therapists, occupational physical therapists, and also did some recruiting there as well and some leading. And so then bring us to about 2 years ago, I was able to step back on with Pediatrics Plus, starting out with a little bit of recruiting, and then it just became an established site here. And so that was an exciting opportunity that I got to step back on and join back up with a company that I've known since I was about 19. And so I'm currently our clinic director here in our Rogers location, and I've been here for around 2.5 years. And so I've had a great time in all these experiences. So that's it.
Yeah, I think it's, what I hear through that is sounds like both of you guys were flexible in terms of, that there were opportunities that maybe kind of came and went, and you guys were open to those ideas. I'm sure there was probably, maybe a little bit of fear in some of those decisions and what am I stepping into? Right. Mm-hmm. My question is, it sounds like, you guys have kind of come into your own as leaders. My guess is that you have experienced some really great leadership styles, leadership characteristics. So what might your advice be to somebody who's maybe just starting out in their business journey, or maybe they're leading this group or this team? What are some leadership characteristics that you're like, this is what I know leads to success in this type of a unit? What would you recommend?
Lauren,
sorry, I should have said which one. No, Kara. How about Kara? You start with this one.
I think, at Pediatrics Plus, the way we really look at leadership is employment. Mm-hmm. Everyone is a leader. And so, I think if you are really wanting to step into that and say, hey, I want to grow in leadership, the first thing I would say to do is to find a mentor. Mm-hmm. Find someone who you can meet with on a regular cadence, that they are willing to sit and ask you the questions, right? Because a lot of leadership is self-reflection. You can't lead others until you can lead yourself. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to put yourself out there and say, I want to grow, mm-hmm. right? And so it's finding that mentor who's going to grow you, who's going to kind of push you, ask you those self-reflection questions, and then you taking that initiative to say, okay, I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to step into the hard, because sometimes that self-reflection is hard. There have been times that I'm like, whoo, I'm reading a book, right? And I'm like, I gotta step away from that for a minute, right? Because this one is really hard. But I think it's good for you to really lean into that. Mm-hmm. I think it's not being scared to, put yourself out there and say, I don't know a lot about leadership, right? Being able to kind of observe other people's leadership style, because not everyone's going to lead the same way. At Pediatrics Plus, we come with a very much of a servant leadership style. Other people may look at it as, hey, you're a supervisor or a manager, and that's not how we look at it. We feel like you manage things, right? But you lead people. And so I think you have to figure out, what does leadership look like to you? What is that definition that you feel aligns with who you are and how you personally like to be led? How you feel like you're growing your best. That would kind of be the way that I would say is a good starting place for someone to jump into leadership.
Yep. I agree with so much of what Kara said. I think when I reflect back on, the decisions I made and the journey I've been on with leading, I don't think I realized early on that you don't actually have to have a title to be a leader. I didn't know some of those key concepts that I think is so important to remember when you're fresh out and when you're getting your career going. You have influence right where you are. And maybe that does look like, advancing your career in a certain direction or moving in a certain way. But what I remember kind of grabbing onto, and I think it was my dad that sort of pushed this with me, was just humility. Just have humility. Just be humble and sure, you may have an area you feel confident in, and that's great. Like embrace that, but also remain humble and don't forget to ask questions. He would always say, questions are free. Don't forget, questions are free. They cost you nothing. And so I just remember going, okay, my dad said questions are free, so I guess I'll ask a couple, And so I just remember just being inquisitive and being ready. And when you find a company that fits for you in the way that you prefer and lean into, and as far as your leadership style, that's when you hit a sweet spot, and so many people set out to lead. They think I want to manage, I want to lead. And like Kara said, it's less managing people. It's more leading them and guiding them. And there are so many conversations now where that as I've done this for a few years, I really am more so listening than I am telling. I'm not telling a person necessarily what to do. I'm listening, because so many of us are so self-aware and so reflective naturally in what we're doing and choosing in our paths of life. And so it's sometimes leading can just be listening. And I had a lot of great people around me, and it was very much by happenstance, but great people around me who just chose to listen and allowed me to ask questions, allowed me the space to ask the questions. And so I think those are some really key components for someone to look for if they're looking to advance in leadership or something like that. So, yeah.
Wow, you manage things, you lead people, questions are free, and leading by listening. Those are three such strong points. I know those will stick with me. Another thing that I was thinking as you both spoke about your professional paths, Rachel and I both have the privilege of working with students who are looking to enter the professions, and getting a job is one of the things on their mind. You both work or have worked in some capacity or another in recruiting. So what do you look for when you are interviewing a potential new therapist for your team? What are some tips that you could give to students or professionals trying to change careers?
Yes, I always love when I'm just going to grab this one and go, Kara, but I know you're good talent. I'm so sorry. The lights went out in my room. I always love when an applicant who comes in and sits down for an interview and I say, what questions do you have for me? This is their question. What are you looking for? And so I love that, because it shows that they're going, okay, let me evaluate if this is a good fit or not. Let me evaluate, what they're looking for. And I'm asking myself while I'm asking them, is that something I can do? And I think it says a lot about a person when they come with that question. But we really, and Kara, I'll definitely just hand it back to you. I know your talent, but we really do look for qualities like teachability, adaptability, self-awareness. And those are some of those general qualities in a person that if you've got those things, you can get so many other things. If you've got those few qualities right there, and those are big ones, there's a few, but they're big, then you can learn so much of the rest. And so we really do ask questions that are geared more toward a lot of those qualities. Can you adapt in a scenario that you didn't see coming? What are you going to do if a kiddo is refusing to do the things that you had thought you would do that session? Ideas of just, how are you reflecting inward, whether it's during your workday or when your workday ends. What do you do to balance, your life day to day and things like that. And I think that gives us insight, and I'll let Kara speak to that too, but it gives us a lot of insight into an individual and if what they value aligns with what we value. So, yes.
Yeah, Lauren, that's so good. Yeah, the number one thing that came to my mind was teachability. I think that as a new graduate coming out of school, I can still remember doing my first assessment by myself, right? And I'm like, oh my word, I feel like I knew, this big space of oh my word, I have so many different areas, right? But I knew a little bit about a lot of things. And so I think it's really coming in and saying, hey, I want to grow, right? Being able to see someone who has, we kind of talk about it confidence, but also humility, right? I'm confident in who I am and know my areas that are my strengths, right? It's that self-awareness piece of it, but also humble enough to say, I have a lot of learning to do. And I know that, right? Because you want someone that has that passion and drive to be a continual learner. I think that's one of the things that Pediatrics Plus, if at any point in time, someone on our staff is like, I know everything, right? That's a kind of a red flag because, there is so much more evidence-based practice coming out, research that is oh my word, we are doing things different today than we were when I came out 15 years ago as a clinician, right? And so I'm you have to be willing to be a lifelong learner. And so I think that is very evident from the first time that we talk with students. The other thing is being able to figure out what is the thing that is driving them. What is that internal motivator, right? What is their story? Everyone has a story. And, we always say to be in the field, right, of speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, whatever it may be, you have to truly have a passion for people and helping them, right? And so what is that story? What is it that's going to keep you excited to come to work every day, right? Because I can honestly say, I don't feel like I'm going to work. I mean, it is not a job where I am oh my word, is it 5:00 yet? It's typically oh my goodness, I forgot. I'm going to go pick up my kids. It's that type of environment. And so it is letting them, and here's the deal. We may not be the fit for someone, and that is fine. And we just hope though that our conversation with them has made them think about what is important to them, right? What is that drive? What is that alignment? And we want them to go find that place because at the end of the day, we're all colleagues together, right? And you want someone working, like Lauren said, in that sweet spot. What is that strength zone going to be for them? Where are they just going to shine and literally be joyful when they get up in the morning?
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's really cool. It's evident that you guys have worked really hard to build a strong organizational culture. And with that being said, I wonder, because that's something that we all want, right? Wherever we're working, we want, positive, strong organizational culture. I wonder if there are maybe some specific examples you all might think of things that you know that your company does, or maybe that a colleague or somebody that works for you all does that you feel really positively contributes to the building of that organizational culture. Do any specific examples come to mind? And maybe we'll start with Lauren on this one because I see her nodding.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know Kara has so much to share here too. It's kind of just gets us really energized, gets us going for sure. We've recently had a meeting about the culture and the direction we're headed with it, and so I'll let her share that part. But within our site here, day to day, we have a lot of different ways that we try to, really build the culture. First of all, it is that applicant, that person, are they the best fit for our culture? So determining that. I think when you can get to a place where you can determine that, so much of the rest really does work. And so I spend a lot of time asking questions. I never end an interview without just literally going through my brain, is there any other questions I have? And sometimes I even call them back and say, I have one more question for you. I have one more question. But when we hit that, we get to have a really fun work day together. And so some of the things we've done around in our sites, I mean, I'm only really speaking to Rogers, but some of it is streamlined. The company does a great job of providing every director with ways to contribute to the culture. We have an annual theme, and then it's broken up into quarters. I will let Kara cover that, but I've gotten the privilege to get to put that into the day, work it into our days. We have different activities we can do. Just recently, we wrapped up a training day for our technicians here. They provide direct one-on-one services to children with autism for behavioral support. And we spent that day just really pouring into them. We gave them educational content that would be helpful for their day-to-day. We talked about burnout, how to help promote self-care, how to identify that as an individual, and reminded them of our culture. We played games, we laughed, we had a trophy we gave away, we had free energy drinks, we really just did it all. But then leading up to that week, we had different games throughout the week to kind of build the culture as well. I think what we found is involving people around a common theme or cause is really what unites the group. It is less about the fact that I created the activity, and it's more about the fact that we want people to participate together. It's the unity that's created through that experience. And it can be something so silly. Like last week, someone put in our little group chat, which kind of popcorn do you like? Ready, set, go. And we're talking about something, and we're arguing about it. Is it caramel popcorn? Is it sea salt? What is it? With butter, and just we're having a conversation surrounding it. We had an activity where we submitted pictures of all of our pets, and we all had to guess whose pet is whose, and who can get it right, and whoever gets it right gets a prize. And but we're really taking the time to talk about it. And I think another piece that really builds our culture too is we always talk about our why. And so the reason why we're doing something, not just our why personally, our stories, but also even down to a really tiny change in a process, we're talking about the reason why we're changing it. And I think it's really helpful for our staff to have transparency from us. And I think it builds an overall trust for just the way it feels when you're in the building. It's not like anyone is gatekeeping information. It's none of that. We're all here for a common purpose. It's for the kids. And when we get into tough conversations in the clinic at times, we may have difficult days, or we may have a session that didn't go as planned, or a tough conversation with a parent. As a team, we always come back and we talk about what the focus is. The focus is the kiddo. And so if we have an area where there's tension, if we can bring the focus back to the child, so much of the rest just feels so much more clear to us, and we can stay united together as a team in that as well. And so there's so much more. I'll let Kara share more about the culture, but those are a few things just within the site. We try to just keep things fun and moving, and activities and commonalities and common ground, and keep our focus on the kids. So, yeah.
Yeah, so great, Lauren. And I hope what you heard from her is there's a lot of intentionality into building our culture, and it is very relational driven. Everything we do, we want to form true, genuine relationships with our team members. One of our core values at Pediatrics Plus is family. And for us, that is threefold. It's the families we serve, right? Our family that we personally have, but then it is our work family. And so it is so important to us that, we are pouring into our people. We are having that ability to have that connection and that relationship. We, like Lauren said, we do themes every year. And so this year it's for such a time as this. And, when you think about, right now statistics is 1 in 36, right, for autism. If you look at what is that for, a developmental delay, you're at 1 in 6. And so literally looking at some of these different statistics, we wanted people to know God has put you here for such a time as this to serve these children that we have right now. And so we, like Lauren said, broke that up into kind of different quarters and did fun activities. I mean, I was just sitting here looking around. So we do stickers for people's cups every quarter. So when you're caught doing something great, you get a sticker, right? Because you want your sticker on your Stanley. Yeah, we have focus bands that we gave out to everyone. And so everyone got a bracelet with just our theme on it. And then we do an activity, once or twice a month that is really geared towards whatever that may be. So we did You Are Growing in Your Purpose. That was our quarter, kind of last quarter. And so we did a group getting together and planting succulents and taking things home. But it's just a time, because our job is hard. It is hard what we are doing, right? And so at the end of the day, you can be mentally just wore out along with physically wore out. And so we get that the job can be hard, and we want to make sure that we are still giving you time to just breathe and just to have that refreshing moment for yourself. And so we intentionally plan for those things, to be in place. Like Lauren said, we talk about our core values at Pediatrics Plus, and then we say, hey, those core values come to life through our Plus approach. And so when we look at kind of the culture, if we had to describe it to you in like kind of what is our culture? So it's going to be a positive, fun-filled culture. It's going to be legacy building. It's going to be a united team, and it's going to be servant leadership. That would kind of be all encompassing of how Pediatrics Plus is. And like Lauren said, we do teacher training day, we do therapist training day. And so this year was the Olympics. And so we had so much fun. Everyone does a roll call video because we like a good friendly competition. So every site creates their own kind of roll call for their site. And that's a huge Facebook challenge. It gets put up. Whoever gets the most likes wins, and you get the spirit stick. And this is a really big deal to get the spirit stick at the site. It's really big. It's really flashy. Everyone wants to display it at their site. And so that's super fun. And then like Lauren said, there's competitions. I mean, it is full on Olympic game competition. We passed the torch between all the sites, created a big video of the torch being passed between all of our locations. And so we just are trying so hard also amongst all of that fun, right? And a group, but also to individually notice each person on the team. So, along with our kind of theme, we have note cards that every director gets. And we intentionally write, when we see someone doing something really great, we write a personalized note card to them. We want them to know, hey, it's not this just generic, you're doing a great job, right? But it's no, oh my word, Lauren, I saw how you helped that family transition that child. You did that with so much grace. You were teaching as you were doing it. You had patience. You just really did a great job. I could tell that family was super stressed, and I saw immediately just them calming down when you were able to kind of step in and help with that. And so we want people to know they're individually seen, that they are valued. I think that's another huge part of the culture.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Oh my gosh, it does sound like you all have a lot of fun. I'm excited to check out those videos on Facebook. Listening to both of you talk, it sounds like I'm talking to people with MBAs. And, you sound like you have an MBA in addition to your degrees in occupational therapy and speech language pathology. So what advice would you have for a therapist who is kind of business minded and thinking, maybe I want to get into the business side of the organization where I work. I want to start my own business. In addition to what you've already shared, finding a great mentor and leadership style, what are some other resources for just learning the nuts and bolts of business?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the first thing I would say is it's really important to know rules and regulations. Outside of just knowing how to lead people, doing it with integrity, right? I think that if you always do what is right, you're going to be rewarded for that every time. And so, some people just don't know better. They have no idea that they're doing it wrong, right? But I'm like, I do think that that's one of the key things. I'm like, if you genuinely are thinking you want to start your own business, it's going to be critical that you go and print off, the Arkansas Medicaid manual, or that you print off different policies and looking for Blue Cross Blue Shield, TRICARE credentialing. What is that going to actually, take? What is it going to be, the rules that you're like, oh, I didn't realize I had to follow all of these different billing rules? Or, I think that's a good place even to kind of start, is just understanding what are really the rules and regs around this outside of my practice act, and how I'm going to have to make sure I do that with ethics. So,
yes, I totally agree with what Kara said. And I think you hit on integrity there. And I think, obviously we want to carry out our day to day with that. And, a good question, I think maybe Krista, one of our owners, mentioned at one point along the way, was trying to determine what's the next right step. You know, you may not know all the steps, but continually asking yourself along the way, what's the next right step? And that does take gaining knowledge, obtaining information, reading up, researching. And so I would say that's really what you need to pursue, you know, in a scenario where you're going to potentially branch off and do something like that. So.
Yeah, I think it's great that you're talking about. I mean, you're combining, you know, evidence-based practice with policy, with you know, ethical service delivery as well. I think it's you know, as a student, we have all those courses, you know, in our curriculum, but I think, you know, you guys are kind of living it, you know, day to day, which is unique to think about for sure. You know, we've talked about kind of how you've gotten to where you are and a little bit on the business side of things. I'm wondering, like, what's the dream, right? Like, you know, 10 years from now, what's the dream 10 years from now? What do you hope for, maybe our professions, or maybe even within the business? I mean, what are the goals and aspirations? What are your thoughts? And maybe I'll start with Lauren, because I mean, Kara may have already been planning it. I don't know. They've been working on their themes probably for 2027. I don't know.
But, she is. She knows. But, you know, I think for me, I'm a mom. So I'm a mom. I have a family at home. I also have a career. And so I have really worked to determine in each season of my life, and Pediatrics Plus is great about saying we want to follow a professional through their different seasons of life, and how can we create a scenario that allows that. But I've had to, you know, reflect and go, okay, in this season, what is fitting, and can I continue in this way? And I think at a young age, I had a whole slew of ideas, you know, of what it would look like in, you know, 20 years. And, it's funny, I'm just about 20 years out now. So, what I would say is, I think, continually, my dream is just to continually be in a place where, I should be, you know, whether that's being a mom in a certain way or being at work in a certain way. I think it's just evaluating that constantly. And I am a type A personality. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. I'm getting it done, whether it's sometimes whether it's right or not, to be honest. And so I've had to backtrack in life and just go, hang on, that's not always the way that should go. It's okay to take a step back and to say, you know, 10 years from now, where do I want to be? And maybe that's not exactly what I thought it would look like, but this is what those around me also need too. And this is what I need to stay balanced and healthy. And so, for me, I would just say my dream is that I'm always in that space. And so, that's not necessarily speaking to the company, but as a professional, for me, I'm very frequently asking myself, what does that need to look like in order for me to walk out of this room and lead others well? You know, what does that need to look like for me? And so, I think I've become a bit more, evaluative in that area for myself, more than I once was. And so I would say that's kind of what it looks like for me. So, yeah.
So good, Lauren. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think it's so important for people to hear, because I think we are whole people with lives both in and out of the clinic. And I think that is a balance that many people are trying to find. And you spoke about that even in interviewing people, right? You're looking for people with that balance. And then you, as someone who is in the profession and as a leader, are always looking to find that balance, and that may look different at different times. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Kara, what were you thinking?
No, I think Lauren is so right. You know, I think that for me, I never would have said this is where I was planning to be at all. I think that I have just always come into it to say, I am here to serve in whatever capacity you need me in. You know, really, I think it goes back to trusting your leadership, trusting the team around you, that they love you enough to make sure that you're in the right role, letting if hey, you're maybe not in the best fit at the moment, right? Like we always say, hey, don't let us fall on our face to each other. We say that very often. And so for me, I think in 10 years, it's like, I just want to still be in a place that I am feeling like I'm being able to serve and use the talents I've been given to just serve. And one of the big things for me is just thinking in 10 years, I hope that the people that I have been able to work with on my teams, I hope to be able to see them in bigger leadership roles and for them to be able to hit those goals that they have. Because for me, I think the success and where I would want to be in 10 years is seeing those around me that they have been developed enough to meet their goals and their dreams. Because I want to see people be able to rise. I want to set them up to win. I want to set them up to be successful in their goals with it.
Good. Yeah, I think it's great. I've heard one of my great colleagues and mentors has said, look, whatever role I'm in, when I leave it, I want the next person to do a better job than I did, and I think that's such a, I kind of hear that, throughout what you guys are talking about. And I think it's a great mindset because, sometimes people will leave positions or leave certain situations where it's like, I wash my hands of this, and it's not in a collegial, let me help and make sure you're set up for success. And so I think that's an important point for all of us to hear too, that, even if maybe things do go south or whatever, we owe it to the families, we owe it to the profession, we owe it to our communities, to try to, make sure that the person that's coming in behind us is set up for success as well. So I think that's really, really cool to hear. And that's something that we haven't touched base on yet, so I think having this business side discussion is really cool, for sure. Yeah. So, okay, well, I think it's about time for our rapid round of questioning, ladies. So, one of you want to volunteer to go first? Or volunteer the other to go first?
That's usually what happens. Someone says, "Oh, I think she looks like she really wants to."
Oh my gosh, I'll go.
Okay, all right. Look at Lauren being brave today.
Amazing. I'm going to put 90 seconds on the timer, and Rachel and I will go back and forth asking you random questions. If there's one that you can't think of the answer or you want to skip, just say pass. Okay. All right, 90 seconds on the clock. Here we go. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
Probably George Washington.
Coffee, tea, or soda?
Coffee.
Favorite place to go on vacation?
I've never been there, but I know it would be my favorite place, and that is Switzerland.
Oh, okay.
Morning person or night owl?
I am neither, unfortunately.
Oh.
Tell me about a small act of kindness that had a big impact on your life.
Small act of kindness. Oh gosh, there's so many. Probably just the time taken by our owners, Krista and Amy, just to sit and talk with me and listen to my goals and to grow. So yeah.
All right. Well, fiction or nonfiction?
I'm fiction.
What's your favorite snack?
Probably coffee.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset. If I'm awake.
If you had a theme song, what would it be?
Probably "Shake It Off" by Taylor Swift.
Instagram, Facebook, or X?
Instagram.
What is a strange talent that you possess?
I'm going to go pass on that one.
Well, that's okay. The time is up. Thank you so much. All right. Now Kara's in the hot seat.
So fun. You did great, Lauren. You killed it.
Yeah, that was great. I think that dinner with George Washington would be very interesting.
Listen, Lauren, I was thinking George Washington too. So when you said it, I just laughed. I was like, that's the person who's coming to my mind. And then you said it, and I was like, I know. So crazy.
All right, Kara. Here we go. Ready, set, go. Okay, what's your favorite color and why?
Oh, pink, because it's just all things girly.
All right, cats or dogs?
Oh, dogs.
Country life or city life?
Country.
Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
What's your favorite TV show and why?
Oh, heavens. I really don't watch TV, so I'm going to have to pass.
Okay. Windows or Mac?
Oh, Mac.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Any superpower. Probably to read people's minds. Be a mind reader.
What is the weirdest food combination that you enjoy?
This is so weird. I used to love hamburger helper with applesauce on top of it. So mixed up. It's very odd.
That's
a good one, though. Many people can't think of an answer for that one. What app do you use the most on your phone?
Oh, my Outlook app, my email.
What is the strangest thing you've ever found in your purse, pocket, or wallet?
Oh, heavens. I'm a mom, so there's all kinds of things that I could find in it. Oh, I've definitely had a molded banana that got completely black at the bottom of a diaper bag before. That was a good one.
A stellar note on which to end. I love it. See, business people are human too.
Yeah. We love it. We love it. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing your time with us today. I guess we've kind of come to the portion where there's only one thing left to say, and that is way to be, Miss Elmore, way to be, Miss Redican. Thank you so much for all you do for your community and our professions. And who knows, maybe somebody that's listening or watching, maybe they've heard something today that maybe that might be a way to be for them in the future too. That's the hope. So thank you again for your time today, and for everyone else, we'll see you next round. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.